So I'm back in the cemetery again. I figure this is a fitting place to talk about Constantine since he has passed away. Truth be told, said he had questions about Orthodoxy, but he's still Orthodox. I do too, and I've been Orthodox for 10 years now. Practicing chrismated, communing, confessing Orthodox for 10 years now. And just a point about the last video about the cemeteries. I was pointing it down so the sun wouldn't get in there, but you could see this is the older part of the cemetery, and as farther you go east is the more modern part. I like these old type of tombstones. But Constantine, is he why is he a saint? For a long time I didn't know he was a saint, and then I heard he wasn't, and that he was, or that he was borderline a saint. All right, this is how it goes. Constantine, is he a saint in the modern Western papal Latin Rite Roman Catholic sense? Well, he is to the Roman Catholics, I believe, but he wouldn't really make it nowadays because, well, first of all, because of politics, and second of all, were there any miracles attributed to him? The Orthodox people become saints because of basically the consensus of the population, of the ecclesia, right? The people on the ground, so to speak. Constantine, this is what I'll say about Constantine, is that I admire the hell out of the man. I've seen documentaries dealing with Constantine, and every single one of them depicted him completely wrong, because if you were actually to depict Constantine accurately, I think people would feel that it would be Christian propaganda or something, because and I did a whole 30-minute video on my old channel destroying National Geographic's documentary on Constantine, which was ludicrous, the documentary. Constantine never persecuted the Christians in his own area, even though he was under the edict of persecution under Diocletian during the Great Persecution. And he ended the persecution and enacted the Edict of Tolerance. Then, under Licentius, who broke the edict and started the war, Constantine was forced to take over all of the empire and not just control half of it. Everything he did seems to be for a selfless act. And even when he could when the norm for hundreds of years was destroying, if somebody betrayed you, just killing them, executing them, and then destroying their whole family, murdering every family member down to infants, killing even slaves and people who did business with that person or their family. I mean, going on to generations and generations. Constantine stopped this. He didn't do that. He didn't take vengeance. And his conversion to Christianity, he struggled. It wasn't Damascus Road. He took Christ as his God. And what is this Christian thing? I know I'm devoted to Christ and to the Father, and that Christ, his teachings are awesome, but how then shall I live? How then shall I practice this? And you can see in the coinage that his Christianity took time, and he struggled with it. And then he called the Council of Nicaea, did not interrupt it or anything like that, but let it play out to the 302 verdict, 302-2 verdict. The only ones, the two being Eusebius of Nicomedia and Arius, being the holdouts, or the schismatics, I should say, the Arians. Now, Constantine, on his deathbed, was baptized apparently by, if you believe the stories or whatever, it's either an Arian or a Nestorian. But how could there be a Nestorian? I guess they'd call them proto-Nestorians, or maybe quasi-Arian. But he he didn't persecute the Arians. I mean, the world fell into Arianism, and you had the period Athanasius Contra Mundo, where almost 80% of the bishops in the world were Arians at that point. There was no religious persecution under him. There was only toleration. He wasn't vengeful. He was a magnanimous in rule. He was a great builder, and he brought back the glory of Rome, or actually the glory of Rome never really existed until him. I mean, in its compassion and in its greatness, even starting a new capital. The Pope certainly didn't like him, but the reason why was he baptized on his deathbed? Because he was given the sword to rule over nations, as Paul tells us, and he thought, wait, if I'm executing people or sentencing people to jail, I don't want to, that would be a violation of my baptism, that kind of view. Now, he was not a Donatist, so I'll give you that, but he kind of held this view of holding baptism to be sacred, and it became a trend with Orthodox kings that they wouldn't be baptized until their deathbed. So when he was baptized, the split between the Arians and the Nicaeans, or the Trinitarian, or not Trinitarians, the Orthodox or the Catholic and the Arians. I don't know if people saw it that much in the day-to-day like they did with the Monophysites and the Chalcedonians. But so he was baptized, and since we're not Donatists, yeah, he was a Christian. He was probably the most honestly converted man that ever existed, I would say. Because in the coinage you can see he had the pagan gods, and he had the pagan gods with Christian symbols, and then gradually he phased it out. He truly believed in Christ. The question was how, and what did that mean, and what were the ramifications. And the compassion that he exercised, he truly had Christian compassion in him, more so than I do in me, and his magnanimity, his tolerance, and his compassion, and his leadership, and his ability to forgive were great. Saint, well, I firmly believe that he is in the heavens. He is with the existing one, and he will be resurrected to a fullness of life on that day. But I wonder what people's issues with him would be if it is the Arian baptism at death, if that's the issue. All right, peace to you.